Alright YouTube, what's up? It's CS back here with another installment, and here's my review for UFC 139, Shogun versus Henderson. Alright folks, now before your boy breaks down this card and takes a look at this card of year candidate, you know one of y'all has to walk away with something after this video is done, so let me announce my contest winner, and that is Ruler of the World 9 for picking and Dan Henderson, unanimous decision. You're walking away with this UFC Rio DVD, so hopefully you receive that in the mail soon. Congratulations, bud. Alrighty, folks, now that I'm off that contest tip, I have to do some shout-outs before I get to the review, so let's get to them. First one goes to Tail of the Tape. Good guy from the UK. He's up and coming in terms of making MMA videos, so go check him out. I'll leave a link to his channel somewhere on the screen, so I co-signed that kid. You guys should too. Show him some love if you really appreciate it. Also, another shout-out goes to my friend Matt Sanderson. I actually picked Mauricio Shogun Hua to win that fight by decision, but I just had this crazy feeling that he was going to drop it. So my dude Sanderson's like, yo, let's bet on this fight. And he wanted Shogun, and I was like, fine, I'll take Henderson. Henderson won, so thanks for the $50, buddy. But folks, let's move on and take a look at that main event between Shogun Hua and Dan Henderson. Guys, I picked Shogun, right? He failed. You know, for the most part, he was getting outboxed by Dan in the first 3 rounds. Dan was dropping him a couple of times, too. Shogun was trying to get to the fight to the ground at times as well. You know, he had a leg lock attempt at one point. But for the most part, he was dropping the first 3 rounds. You know, good 10-9. Come the 4th round, Dan completely gassed. Shogun landing more powerful shots on the feet, able to control Dan on the ground and in the clinch as well. Gave him that 10-9, and then come 10-8, come the 5th round, which I gave a 10-8 because Dan Henderson didn't do shit. You know, I had that fight equal a draw at the end, but it was 48-47 come, you know, the judge's decision. All judges scored it like that. I thought it would be a 48-48 for at least one judge. Apparently, everyone was on the same page this time, and I thought they were all wrong. So that's just my opinion. What do you guys think of that decision? But, yeah, you know, what can I say? Solid fight for the first 3 rounds, in my opinion. As soon as it got sloppy as hell, come round 4 and 5. If you fuck with that stuff, that's fine. You know, if you're all into that, you know, heart and, you know, crappy MMA, once people get tired, that's cool. But I really don't like the idea of 5-round, you know, fights that aren't title fights because, you know, because of this. You know what I'm saying? This was supposed to be a clear-cut win for Dan Henderson, and it wasn't. You know, Shogun was able to make that close because he gassed. And I know that's Dan Henderson's fault, but it just looked ugly, you know what I'm saying? From a quality of MMA standpoint, it just didn't look good. So that's just my thoughts on that. That being said, it was still a good, epic way to end off the night. And, you know, in most people's eyes, that's one of the greatest fights anyone's ever seen. I just don't like the idea it got sloppy, so it wasn't for me. So tell me what you think, though, in the comment section below. But folks, let's take a look at who these guys might face in their next respective bouts. Of course, with the win, Dan Henderson has the option of going down in weight to face Anderson Silva again for that crown, or staying at 205 and challenging Jon Jones. He's probably going to challenge Jon Jones, but whatever route he takes, I think either guy subs him. So, yeah, I just think it's a bad matchup stylistically for Dan Henderson, and I really don't see him winning a UFC belt, which is unfortunate because he's won everywhere else. But again, Dan Henderson, congrats to him. But also, Shogun Hua, who might he face? I'm thinking Quint Rampage Jackson, Saitama Super Arena in Japan when the UFC makes their way over there. Joe Silva, please make it happen. Folks, let's move on to that co-main event between Wanderlei Silva and Cung Le at middleweight. I thought Cung Le was going to be able to keep the distance away from Wanderlei for the most part, and when Wanderlei actually committed to a flurry, throwing a bunch of straight punches and maybe some hooks in, you know, when he just charges at people, I thought Cung Le would be able to pivot and counter with a right cross or a left and be able to drop Wanderlei and then finish him off with punches. That's what I thought would be happening in the opening round, but it didn't. But Cung Le was still able to, you know, for the most part, keep the distance with his kicks, you know, throwing a lot of flashy stuff, side kicks, back spinning heel kicks, you know, whatever, anything spinning back fists as well. You know, he looked really flashy in round 1, but he expended a lot of energy doing so. Come round 2, he was gassed out, Vanderlei was clearly the more, cardio-ready fighter. He always has good cardio, and he was able to exploit Kung's. So eventually, Kung Lee just started dropping his hands. Vanderlei was able to tee off on him. Kung Lee even got caught in the Muay Thai plum with Vanderlei. Vanderlei was landing some vicious knees. Eventually, he dropped Kung Lee, I can't remember with what, and he was able to put him out via hammer fists, although I thought that was a premature stoppage if you saw that, because Kung Lee was kind of hanging on to Vanderlei with that single leg. So I thought that was an unfortunate stoppage, but shit happens. But props to Vanderlei for picking up the win. Very hard-fought win for him, weathering the early storm from Kung Lee. Kung Lee just kicked himself out. He just didn't have the gas tank. He keeps taking these long-ass layoffs. They certainly don't help. And who knows if we'll see him back in the octagon again. I'd like to. He's a pretty exciting fighter. But I think he needs to stay active, if anything. I know he has movies to do and shit. So, if his heart's not into this MMA thing, I really think he shouldn't pursue it anymore. But that was still a fun fight. And, again, if he was active, maybe the result would be different and he wouldn't be gassing out as much and shit. Who knows? He just needs to have an active schedule, I think, and a very good training camp. Who knows? He kind of looked out of shape. Just saying. But Vanderlei, again, always in shape. Glad he picked up this victory. Who do you give him next? I'm thinking Alan Belcher would be a good fight. And if Kung Lee decides to come back, I think maybe Alessio Sakara, some striker, Brian Stann comes to mind. I think those would be good fights. Alrighty, folks, now let's move on and take a look at that bantamweight title eliminator. Uriah Faber versus Brian Bowles. Faber, of course, won. He got the second round guillotine on Brian Bowles. Brian Bowles and Faber looked pretty much even on the feet round one, but what set him apart was Faber's wrestling and grappling ability. He got the takedown with ease in round one, was able to maintain top control, and he picked that one up 10-9 come round two. Again, they're relatively even on the feet, feeling each other out. Eventually, Bowles gets dropped by Uriah Faber right hook, I think. Faber tries to finish with punches. He can't, but eventually sinks in a guillotine of his own, and Bowles had no choice but to tap. So, solid win for Faber for picking up a win over the former champion Bowles. Now Faber gets his rematch with Dominic Cruz. I think he drops that match in the trilogy, in the finale of it. But, again, it should be a relatively entertaining fight. Solid win for Faber again. Congratulations to him for picking up the submission of the night. As for Brian Bowles, what's next for him? Who can you give him? Who comes to mind? Brad Pickett comes to mind. I wouldn't mind that. Who knows? We'll see. But I just hope they don't demote Bowles because he's a relatively entertaining fighter. I still think he's very much main card material, and he's definitely top 5 in that division. But yeah, again, props to both guys. Alrighty, folks, now let's move on. Let's take a look at that welterweight bout between Martin Kampmann and Rick Story. Guys, Martin Kampmann has been relatively puzzling to me as of late. Of course, he tried to outstrike Paul Daly. He tried to outgrapple Jake Shields. He stopped sticking and moving against Diego Sanchez, and that turned into a brawl, and he dropped that fight. I thought he was going to do something stupid here, and I thought Rick Story was just going to be relentless with takedowns. That wasn't the case. Rick Story did not throw enough takedowns. He punched himself out on the feet in round one by doing a lot of Vanderlei Silva. And, it just didn't help his case because come round 2 and 3, he had no energy for takedowns. He only went for like 5 of them or something like that, got 2 off, and ended up getting taken down numerous times himself. And, of course, he got outstruck. So I'm not surprised, Martin Kampmann, with improved takedown defense plus better boxing, kickboxing skills equals win. So, solid win for Martin Kampmann. What's next for him? What is next for him? I'm trying to think. Thiago Alves, I think, would be a sick fight. Should be fun. As for Rick Story, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe a rematch with Brenneman. We'll see. But yeah, a good win for Martin Kampmann. It was initially scored a split D because I think one of the judges wrote the thing down wrong, but eventually it was a unanimous D. 29-28, 30-27, and 30-27. So that makes sense. Alright, folks, next up, let's take a look at the bout that kicked off the main card. Kyle Kingsbury versus Stephen Bonnar at 205. Again, this is one that could have been a fight of the night candidate. I thought it was for sure going to be. But Stephan Bonnar had other motives. He turned it into a grappling match. You know, for the most part, he looked Division 1 out there, able to take Kyle Kingsbury down at ease. Part of that because Kyle Kingsbury wasn't expecting Stephan Bonnar to take him down. I wasn't expecting Stephan Bonnar to take him down over the course of 3 rounds. I thought he'd be doing it in between striking exchanges, maybe trying to steal the round or something, but for that to be his primary game plan, I really didn't expect. But once he got it there, you know, he was controlling Kingsbury for the most part over the course of 3, looking very dominant, going for subs, maintaining top control very well, working off, you know, half guard into side control, getting crucifixes, and getting north-south position a lot. He looked very good in terms of his grappling game. So, solid, dominant win for Stephan Bonnar. Who do you give him next? I don't know. As for Kyle Kingsbury, I don't know either, but he clearly has to work on some defensive grappling for sure. Alrighty, folks, now let's storm through the rest of the card. On the undercard, I actually went 6-1, which is a relief because I went 1-4 on the main card. I totally butchered that shit. But yeah, let's start with Ryan Bader, Jason Brills. Guys, Bader won first round KO. Anyone surprised? Not me. Good win for Bader. Nice and emphatic. Who do you give him next? I have no idea. As for Jason Brills, you know, I don't think he should be cut. He's only lost to top 15s, right? So just give him a step down in competition, if anything. Next up, Michael McDonald, Alex Soto. Michael McDonald picks up a nice knockout of the night. Alex Soto comes in there looking relatively wild and aggressive. He throws a counter hook, I believe, and then Michael McDonald counters with a cross himself. That puts Alex Soto down, and then he finishes him off with more punches, and then Alex Soto gets knocked out. Nice knockout of the night for Michael McDonald. Who do you give McDonald next? I think Ivan Menjivar would be a very fun fight. I think that would make sense. Next up, Chris Weidman, Tom Lawler. Guys, Chris Weidman, better everywhere. That's why he won. Solid Darce choke. I thought he got robbed for submission of the night, and he needs more money. He needs the money more than Faber does. Just saying. All right, and next, folks, we have Rafael dos Anjos, Gleison Tibau. Tibau didn't gas come round 3, so he's able to win. He was actually able to do stuff with his takedowns when he got Rafael dos Anjos to the ground. Also, on the feed, he did knock him down in round 2, so that pretty much sealed the deal for him in that round. And I had him winning round 3. He didn't gas there. He was able to move forward still and put forth combinations. If anything, I gave Dos Anjos round 1, but I'm pretty sure I scored it 30-27 for Tibau throughout, and he picked it up 29-28, 29-28, and 30-27 officially. So, good one for Tibau. I don't know what's next for him. As for Rafael dos Anjos, who knows? I actually thought it would look a lot more lopsided, just because I didn't see Dos Anjos stuffing any takedowns at all. But he did. You know, he has like this nicer physique to work with. He's not as skinny as he once was, and yeah, he looks a little bit more built now. So, with that comes, you know, improved athletic ability and strength to stuff takedowns, and we saw that early. But again, Tibau was just too much in the end. Let's move on. Also, we had, Torres, Pace. Nick Pace coming in overweight like crazy. Miguel Torres also overweight, but he eventually made weight. And he just beat Pace with jabs and combinations throughout the course of the fight. When it hit the ground, he out-grappled Pace there as well. Yeah, you know, Pace got a takedown off in round 1, I think, but couldn't do much with it. Torres was going for subs off his back like usual, but he won this fight via his combinations, and that's why he picked up the 30-27 victory. Also, Seth Bakchinski, Matt Brown. Matt Brown's got to go. Solid win for Seth Bakchinski. As for Danny Castillo, Shamar Bailey, can't believe people were picking Bailey. I think his wrestling's overrated. Danny Castillo, better wrestler. He, took Bailey down 3 times and eventually finished him with a TKO. So, good win for Danny Castillo. So, yeah, that's about it, guys. Hope you enjoyed my review. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed that card. Again, I think it's one of the card of the year candidates for sure. A couple nice subs, a couple nice knockouts, a couple nice fight of the nights. Yeah, definitely don't have anything to complain about for me. So yeah, again, hope you guys enjoyed everything. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, and check out my links in the description below. That's about it. Thanks again, and take care.